Representative, Congressman from Indiana, Republican Jim Banks was there in Bannon's war room that we set up. We've now taken that national. Now, Congressman, you're here with me at the White House. This is a 1-2 punch. How do you beat these 2 days, sir?
From Steve Bannon's basement to the White House with you, how can you beat that 2 days in a row?
What do you think about the war room operation that we set up at Bannon's basement?
It's quite impressive.
We set that up in a day. That's how kind of Steve works. We talked about it Saturday. I'm like, we got to get the message out because it's not working. And 50, we got that poll from Rasmussen. That was like 3 weeks ago, right? Who I trust. He comes on my show. He's like, well, dude, 50% in my poll, 50% of voters want the president impeached and removed from office. And we're like, are you serious? So obviously the messaging wasn't working. So Steve and I talked about it. We basically set that up in a day and a half. So it's gone national now with Salem and other independents around the country. Congressman, I want to get to USMCA and then we'll go back to impeachment. Billions of dollars here at stake. And I just want to ask you, why is it just sitting in Nancy Pelosi's desk drawer? Why can't you guys, and get with it enough Democrats that would influence and get the bill on the floor so we can get jobs, wages? It helps farmers, manufacturers, dairy producers, up to 1% of GDP. That's over $1 billion. What's the deal?
John, I come from Northeast Indiana. We have the most manufacturing jobs per capita of any congressional district in the country. In my district, we also have a lot of agriculture. So I always contend that nowhere will benefit as much as my district, Northeast Indiana, as anywhere in the country when we do pass USMCA. And it's not just good for farmers, it's not just good for manufacturing businesses, it's really good for the workers. My dad is retired from a factory. He made axles all of his life. It's really good for people like my dad. My brother works in the same factory that my dad did all of his life because it means better paying jobs, better opportunities. It's going to mean better for the bottom line of the American worker. It's been over 1 year now at this point since President Trump negotiated USMCA with Canada and Mexico. Both Canada and Mexico have ratified the deal. There is only one individual in all of the world who is holding this up, and it's Nancy Pelosi, because she sees it. She sees USMCA as not just a win for the president, but probably the crowning achievement of his administration. It's that good of a deal. It means that major manufacturing companies, major auto dealers in America will not just be incentivized to bring back investments from Mexico to the U.S. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to the deal that President Trump negotiated means that you're going to see boatloads of jobs come back to the United States of America and better paying opportunities for the American worker. And Nancy Pelosi knows that will be the icing on the cake that will get Donald Trump reelected on Election Day. That's why she doesn't want to bring it to the floor.
So she's willing to hurt American citizens who would greatly benefit by this in wages, jobs, additional opportunity, being able to sell their goods to Canada, Mexico, and back. She'd rather them suffer than give a political victory to this administration.
This is the same woman who is weaponizing the impeachment process to punish the president of an opposing party in the most unprecedented way in American history. So to answer your question, yes, she's willing to put her party first over what's best for the United States of America. That's the sad audacity of not passing USMCA right now. And that's why I'm here bright and early this morning to talk about it, because my district and the entire state of Indiana, as well as the rest of the heartland of America, has so much at stake when it comes to USMCA, and it's being held up because of the political ambitions of one woman and one party over what's best for the country.
Congressman Banks from Indiana, Republican, with us live at the White House, you said it was sad. It's sick. I mean, this is really a sick way to run the country, and obviously power for them is taking precedent, right, over everything else. But, the colleagues that you talk to, the Democratic colleagues that you talk with, that are in districts that President Trump won in 2016, that they won in 2018, 31 of them, 2 of them in Virginia, which we have our radio show all over the state. When you talk to them and say, why don't you just get this thing forward? Why don't you get USMCA forward? I mean, you got to go back to the voters with something, right? Well, what do they say, Congressman Banks?
They agree. They get it. They know it. They know that USMCA is just as good for their district as it is for mine. I mean, a lot of the Democrats that won the seats that helped them win the majority back last year, that are the seats that are in contention, the swing seats that we need to win back, the Republicans need to win back the majority this year, are in those Rust Belt districts that come from places like I come from. So they go to Speaker Pelosi. They tell her this is important for their district. But the politics dominates the Democrat Party today. My dad was a Democrat for most of his life. John, I always say this isn't my dad's Democrat Party. I mean, this is an entirely different, ideologically driven, radical Democrat Party today than what my dad or grandpa grew up with. That's dominated by the likes of folks like Nancy Pelosi. So she's going to do everything that she can to prevent Donald Trump from getting reelected. We see that with the impeachment sham process. But USMCA is probably when we look back years from now would be the greatest example of the worst type of politics that I can think of in my lifetime.
No question, Congressman. We're with Congressman Jim Banks, Republican from Indiana, Northeast Indiana, and we're live at the White House today. Congressman was on Steve Bannon War Room Impeachment show yesterday, so he's doing a John Fredericks Network doubleheader. We can't get enough of a good thing, right, Congressman?
That's right.
But there's so many other things that haven't been passed with this impeachment. No prescription drug pricing. No stop medical surprise billing. I mean, we could go on and on and on.
Let me add another one to your list. I serve on the Armed Services Committee. I deployed to Afghanistan. We have a major defense bill that's on the table right now in a conference committee that's not passing because of pure politics, because the Democrats want to take away the authority that every president has had for well over 100 years to send resources to the border. We've sent troops to the border for decades, but they want to put partisan political pills in a defense bill that has nothing to do with our national defense, that ties the hands of this president. That's the example of the type of things that this Democrat Party is preventing from coming to the floor. Even what's best for our national security, for our troops, for our men and women in uniform, is being held up because of Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat Party's agenda of stopping this president.
Okay, so 2 days so far of public hearings. We had 3 diplomats come up and spend, I guess, a combined 15 hours complaining about the president's policy for Ukraine and other things that they don't like, right? Because they didn't get elected president. The president has the authority to get rid of them, can them at will, because the ambassadors serve at the pleasure of the new incoming president. But he's not. We got all these open staff positions. He's not got a lot of his people in. We could spend an hour going into the reasons. But they spend 2 days whining about they don't like the president's policies. What on earth does this have to do with high crimes, misdemeanors, impeachment, or anything else? I mean, looking at this, Congressman, didn't you see this for 2 days as simply a policy debate, or is there something that I'm missing?
They're trying to impeach a president because they hate him, they don't like him, they disagree with his agenda. If this president was soft on the issues, if he was pro-abortion, if he was soft on China, if he was more of a globalist, if he was more in line with the thinking of moderates or the Democrat Party, we wouldn't be trying to impeach him. I mean, that, to your point, that's the heart of the matter. This Democrat Party is trying to impeach a president not because of high crimes and misdemeanors, but because they don't like him, and that is offensive to me. It's offensive to Americans all over the country, even Democrats, independents, who see that the Democrat Party is weaponizing a process that is supposed to be used for extraordinary means in impeaching presidents for high crimes and misdemeanors for an altogether different agenda.
So what happens? He's going to get impeached. I don't think there's any question about it. Probably 2 counts. It's going to go to the Senate. They're never going to get 67 votes because he didn't do anything wrong, right? Maybe Romney votes for it. Who knows? And then he's exonerated. So or he's acquitted. It seems like they can't remove him from office, so this has to be for political reasons, right?
I don't think the
Maybe
president
to contract the arc of his presidency, perhaps.
Yeah, this president doesn't want to go through this process. He doesn't want to be known in history for having been impeached. But this is a president who knows that these Democrats are overreaching, and the voters are going to take it out on Election Day and punish them for it. So what I look forward to, and the reason that I'm optimistic today, is because I know this president's heart. I know that he cares about this country deeply. He knows that this isn't about him. It's about moving our country forward. The president will be reelected because of the overreach of the Democrats, and because he has a pretty good track record to boot. And the next 4 years are going to be really good when we win back the majority, reelect the president, keep the majority in the Senate. We're going to have a window of opportunity to do some really good things for this country. And that's why today, in spite of this circus, in spite of the weaponization of the impeachment process being used in such a terrible way that history is not going to look kindly on, I'm still optimistic about where we're heading.
Congressman, final question. I know you got to take off. Have you ever seen Republicans unified the way you have in the last couple of weeks, honestly?
No, I haven't. I laugh about it because as a kid, my grandpa would always tell me, look at how those Democrats always stick together and the Republicans never stick together. And this is, I wish he was alive to see it, because this is the first time in my life I've seen Republicans as unified as they are. We're all fighting back. We're all on the same page. You have guys in the Republican conference who were once rivals. Jim Jordan and Kevin McCarthy ran against each other for minority leader, and they're partners in this endeavor and leading the fight all the way down to from Freedom Caucus on the right to Tuesday Group in the middle to all the Republicans in between. We're all unified and fighting back because we see what's at stake. And we see that we have a great leader in our president who has done great things for our country. We want 4 more years of that.
Is he going to win Indiana again, 2020?
Without a doubt. He's going to get more votes in Indiana this time than he did in 2016. He did pretty good in 2016. But he's been so good for Indiana, so good for our economy. What he's done to fill the courts with pro-life, constitutionally minded judges. For me, it's a lot of this is about national security, about supporting our troops and making America strong on the world stage again. He's done so much on that front as well. He's been the best president of my lifetime, John. So I'm going to do everything I can to get him reelected, and Indiana's going to do their part. Indiana is always the first state to report. And I've already told the president on election night, Indiana is going to be the first one out there and on the board. For President
why is
Trump.
That, Congressman Jim Banks?
Our polls close at 6 o'clock, and
that's right. You close early.
We count the votes quickly. And there's not going to be any room for doubt. We're going to put a big victory on the board for President Trump on election night.
Now, you're in Northeast Indiana. How far is that from Indianapolis?
We're a couple of hours north of Indianapolis. We're the northeast corner. Fort Wayne is the heart of our district, but it's pretty rural outside of Fort Wayne. It's where I was born and raised, and we have a lot to be proud of. I mean, we're a region on the move. We're growing. Our manufacturing base has grown substantially during these 3 years of the Trump years. So contrast that with what we saw over the 8 years of the previous president, or President Obama. We had manufacturing businesses closing right and left. We had jobs fleeing our state and our country. All of that investment is coming back, and it's been great to see and great to be a part of.
So, Congressman Banks, do you follow the Bears or the Colts?
I'm a Colts fan through and through.
Well, they had a big win Sunday.
That's right.
Over Jacksonville.
Brissett is a great quarterback.
Good. Yeah.
And if it weren't for a few missed field goals over the past 5 or 6 games, we would be a leading team, but we still are in a great position moving forward.
Well, I'm a Titans fan, and we popped the champagne when Andrew Luck retired, because I think he beat us 18 straight times. And we're like, okay, well, time to spend some time with your family next. But it doesn't matter. You beat us again. I think you beat us 17 straight times. We just can't beat the Colts. But great game on Sunday. Congressman Jim Banks, I want to thank you for being with us again today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For
Great to be
coming
with
here
you.
and being up early, sir.
Thank you.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network.